Good morning, this is Penny Ferguson, a living leader. Here we are back at Wednesday again. Today what I'd like to do is I'd like to share a story that I did actually post out about, would you believe, 9 years ago. But it came to the forefront of my mind very recently and I thought, now. A man sat at a metro station in Washington, D.C. and started to play the violin. It was a cold January morning. He played 6 Bach pieces for about 45 minutes. During that time, since it was rush hour, it was calculated that 1,100 people went through the station, most of them on their way to work. 3 minutes went by and a middle-aged man noticed there was a musician playing. He slowed his pace and stopped for a few seconds and then hurried up to meet his schedule. A minute later, the violinist received his first dollar tip. A woman threw the money in the till and without stopping and continued to walk. A few minutes later, someone leaned against the wall to listen to him, but the man looked at his watch and started to walk again. Clearly he was late for work. The one who paid the most attention was a 3-year-old boy. His mother tagged him along, hurried, but the kid stopped to look at the violinist. Finally, the mother pushed hard and the child continued to walk, turning his head all the time. This action was repeated by several other children. All the parents, without exception, forced them to move on. In the 45 minutes the musician played, only 6 people stopped and stayed for a while. About 20 gave him money but continued to walk their normal pace. He collected $32. When he finished playing and silence took over, no one noticed it. No one applauded, nor was there any recognition. No one knew this, but the violinist was Joshua Bell, one of the most talented musicians in the world. He'd just played one of the most intricate pieces ever written on a violin worth $3.5 million. 2 days before his playing in the subway, Joshua Bell sold out at a theatre in Boston where the seats averaged $100. This is a real story. Joshua Bell, playing incognito in the metro station, was organised by the Washington Post as part of a social experiment about perception, taste and priorities of people. The outlines were in a commonplace environment at an appropriate hour. Do we perceive beauty? Do we stop to appreciate it? Do we recognise the talent in an unexpected context? One of the possible conclusions from this experience could be, if we do not have a moment to stop and listen to one of the best musicians in the world playing the best music ever written, how many other things are we missing? And I read that and I thought that would be such a lovely story to share, because one of the things that I think is really key in some of the leaders that I know who I've worked with and I think are amazing, their level of awareness is extraordinary. They do their darndest to stay aware all the time and in the present moment. Awful lot of the time we spend looking back at the past, and of course if we're thinking about the past, that's where we are, and we can't make change in the past. Or a lot of the time we're thinking about the future, and the same thing is, we can't make change in the future, we can only make change in the present moment. So I think that one of the key things is saying, how is it I can raise my level of awareness, no matter what the situation? Do I notice things when it could be just as simple as driving to work. Am I in the present moment? Am I aware of what's happening around me? Am I aware of the beauty that I might see? Am I aware of the things that normally I might miss because I'm worrying or thinking about what's going to be happening later today? And I think that it's so fascinating, that story, because a lot of those people, if there'd been a sign there saying, this is Joshua Bell, he's going to be here, they'd have promptly got out $100 and paid to go, or they'd have stopped. But their level of awareness wasn't there. So I think it's a really, really interesting story. How many things, if we don't raise our level of awareness about the things that are going on around us, about the beauty that's around us, about the conversations we overhear, about people that we meet that may be only for a very short time, are we really looking for, if you like, the opportunities and things that are around us most of the time, but because we don't raise our level of awareness, we might miss them. And I just thought that was such a really wonderful story, a true story that I wanted to share with you today. So I really ask you to think about, you're going to have some time off now, coming up as from tomorrow. Hopefully you're going to be having a little bit of a holiday and celebrating the amazing, amazing woman who is our queen. But think of it as an opportunity. Can I raise my level of awareness to actually what's going on around me, how my children are, how they're feeling, how my partner is, how they're feeling? What might I be able to think about or do that could add to it if I stay in that present moment and just raise my levels of awareness? No question in my mind, the best leaders I know, their levels of awareness are quite extraordinary. So there's my thought for you for this week. I hope it just gives you a little something to think about. I hope you all have a wonderful holiday, and I will look forward to seeing you in a week's time. I hope you have a great time. This is Penny Ferguson, Living Leader.